So I was talking to Ry from Ry Beats, and I was telling him that you can customize the brim of a hat. And he said, no, you cannot. And I said, yes, you can. So that's exactly what we're gonna be doing in this video. Don't go anywhere. What's up, guys? My name is Juan with Liberty Graphic Designs, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be customizing the brim. Just that. So I was talking to Ry Beats. If you guys don't follow Ry Beats, go ahead and follow him. That's his logo right there. For this video, you're going to need a hat of your choice. You're going to need the fabric that you need to change it to, or that you want to change it to. And if you get very creative, you can actually make your own design. I just took the little label. This is a 168 Richardson hat. 168 is the model. So going back, you're gonna need a hat, fabric, a knife. You're gonna need a Sharpie or anything that you can mark with. You're gonna need an embroidery sewing machine. That's what you're gonna need for this video. Now we're gonna cut this apart because we need to modify this right here. So we're gonna take it apart. And to take the brim apart, you need a knife, whichever knife you have. I like using this Alpha knives. And we're going to find the one end of the hat, whether here or here, or whichever end you want to start from. You can even start from the bottom, but it's easier if you start right here on the top. Fold it back like so you can see the actual thread. And it's gonna be kind of hard to find the thread. Once you find it, see, my blade just went in, so that means I found the thread. Just keep cutting it. Make sure you cut away from yourself so you don't cut yourself. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut that all the way. You can also just cut this right here, those stitches right there, and that's gonna release the hat. You can also use a thread ripper, and again, just kind of go in there and cut this thread right here. Some hats are very easy to cut. Some of them, you're gonna be struggling. Make sure your knife is really sharp. I'm not pushing, I'm just kind of putting the knife against the thread and putting a little bit of pressure, and until it actually cuts the thread. So now we have two pieces, but we need this one right now. We need the actual brim, the bill, whatever you guys call it. So now we need to get the plastic out of the brim or the bill. We're gonna use the knife. Be careful, you don't want to cut yourself. And it doesn't matter if you cut this material, we don't need that anymore, because we're gonna replace it with a new one. And then what I'm doing is I'm cutting all these stitches right here on the brim so we can get it out. There you go. So this is trash. We don't need this anymore. So now what you want to do is get a piece of paper, place your brim right there, and you're gonna trace it. Don't worry about tracing on the inside. We don't have to trace the inside. But in this case, I'm gonna trace the inside because that's what I'm gonna do. Once we have this trace, we can use this paper and scan this. That way we have it on our computer and we can design something on it, so you can get a little more creative and do stuff like this. That way you'll have something on the inside and the outside. Yes, if you notice, there's nothing on this hat, just that right there. That's what you need this step right here for. So if you want to scan it, put it on your computer, that way you can design here, you can either digitize it for embroidery, or you can do it like in this case, I did it for sublimation. This is sublimation. So you can do that. Now, if you don't have an embroidery machine and you cannot do you cannot do embroidery, because now once you digitize this, you can embroider this and then apply it back to the brim. If you don't have that, but you say, for example, you like a piece of fabric, like for example, this one right here, you can just go to your local Joann's, your local fabric store, whatever it is you go, or whatever it is you can find the fabric. And then now we're gonna place this and then cut a section of the part that you like the most. Like for example, in this case, we can pick this right here or this design right here. But in this one, we're gonna do it in the back. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab that piece right there. We're gonna place our brim right where we want it, and we're gonna trace outside. Whatever you're using, make sure it doesn't go through, okay? Because you don't wanna see the marker on the other side. So if you want to use something that is actually made for fabric, use it. Like for example, this pencil is for fabric. This pen is for fabric. But in this case, I'm using the Sharpie just for the video so you guys can see it better. Now, in this case, is we're going to use this piece of fabric. We don't have to trace the inside. However, we do need to have a little extra material. So I'm going to come back about 2 inches past the end of the brim. Then I'm just gonna do that. So now that's for either the top or the bottom, whichever you want to use it. So let's say, for example, if you want to use this other design, actually, you know what, for the bottom, I'm gonna grab this right here just so we have a different design. And then now again, we're gonna trace. So now we're gonna trace the outside of the brim, and that's what we need. So now we can cut this, and that's what we're gonna use to do our brim. Okay, so now when you go to cut this, you don't want to cut right on the line, because that's gonna be wrong if you cut it right on the line. This line, that's where you're gonna be sewing it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut plenty of material so we can actually sew it together. Since we don't care too much about the bottom of the brim, we're gonna focus more on this top one. Okay, so now we're gonna flip this over. We're gonna grab our top design, making sure that we're not, going over. And we're gonna sew this. We're gonna sew right on the line. This is the line that we actually drew using our brim, the plastic that came out of the brim. And we're gonna sew exactly on top of it. Okay, so now we're gonna grab our fabric. We're gonna sew it together, but we're gonna be very careful because we cannot see the bottom. We want to make sure that we do have enough material. And yes, you can use a regular sewing machine. And again, now we're going to sew directly on the line. Right now I'm making sure that I'm actually sewing both pieces together because I cannot see the bottom one. Just like that. Okay, so now this piece is already sewn together. Both of them are sewn together. Very important that when you sew it, it's flat, okay? That is nice and flat. If it's not flat, it's not gonna look good. So once you sew it, now we're gonna cut it. And we're gonna cut about a quarter of an inch, an eighth of an inch or quarter of an inch I want to say 1/8 of an inch will be better around the actual sewn part, the stitching. And you can use just about any fabric that you want. And it'll look just like this. Just like that. So now we're gonna flip it over, because what we want is actually on the inside. And you're gonna have this pocket looking thing. For this step, for this next step, the presser foot, you need a presser foot that we normally use for zippers. That presser foot, it looks like a half a presser foot. Let me show you the regular presser foot. Regular looks like that. The zipper presser foot, or the one that you need, it's like half of that. So that's what I got on this machine right now. For this next step, this is what you're gonna need, okay? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this plastic, the brim, and we're gonna slide it in there. And yes, it has to be a little tight. Don't worry about this excess material. We're gonna need that for the next step, so don't worry about it. What you do need to worry about is the actual seam that you sew. Make sure it's actually on the bottom side. You don't want it on the top, okay? Just like that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew a line right here around the actual brim. That's why we need a zipper presser foot. And we're gonna sew, putting pressure against the brim. So this machine usually likes to go really fast. If you have a regular sewing machine, you're not gonna have that problem, because those machines are usually a lot slower. But right now I'm pulling on the fabric and making sure that the presser foot is right against the brim. Let me fix this part right here. Just like that. Now we have the brim sewn in. This is the bottom of the hat, which I kind of like it. I might make it the top. And that was the top, but I kind of like this one better. Okay, so now for this next step, we're gonna use this magnet. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this lines back in. And on this one, you have to be careful, because you can actually push the magnet and then your line will not be true. Okay, so we're gonna start right here, and then we're gonna start. This is why you need extra fabric, because we're gonna start way outside the hat. And on this one, don't worry, when you get to the actual plastic part, your machine will actually sew it. See, I was moving the magnet. Just go real slow, because your machine is gonna have trouble jumping on top of the plastic. So what I did is I actually pushed it in. Usually if I was to do this, I would use a different machine. I wouldn't use this one. So if you use a regular house sewing machine, you're gonna have a little bit of a difficulty. And you can see I'm moving the magnet just a little bit. You're not supposed to. So basically all you need is a spacer. I'm gonna move this, I'm gonna hold this right here, because even though these magnets are pretty strong, I'm still holding it because you can move it. And if you move it, your lines will not be symmetrical. Just like that. We're gonna go back. So now we need to move it back a little bit. And we're gonna put another line. There you go. So I got 3 lines in. You can't hardly see them because they're blue. Hopefully you can see them right there. Those 3 lines. That's plenty. We don't need any more. If you want to put more lines, you can put as many as you want. We're gonna cut a bunch of this excess material because we don't need it for the next step. And now if you actually feel on the inside of the brim, you can actually find the center. There's a notch. There's a center right there. So we're gonna transfer that center over to the fabric, we're gonna cut a slit right there. And this is so the fabric can actually move. Okay, so now we're gonna attach the actual hat to the brim. And we're gonna start with the, in this case, we're gonna start with a sweatband. We're not gonna start with the actual crown, we're gonna do the sweatband. I'm not gonna change my thread, because I could change it to something that'll match this color. I wanna leave it blue. That way you can see it, because right here you cannot see it, because with it being blue, you can't see it. You cannot see it, so I'm gonna leave it blue. That way you can see where I actually stitched it. So we're gonna find the center of the hat, and usually they'll have little notches where you can see where the center is. If you don't see it, grab the hat, fold it in half, like so, and then find your center right there. Mark it, mark where the center is, and if you notice, see there was a notch right there. That's where their center was. And we're gonna mark the sweatband as well. That way we know exactly where we need to be at. Okay, so now all I gotta do is match that mark that I did at the center with that one. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of walk it back to where I wanna start, which is right there. And we're gonna start sewing right there. Again, for this step, you need a zipper presser foot. Don't worry about the rest of the hat. Right now, we're only doing the sweatband. And I'm gonna try to go as slow as I can. That way you guys can see it. Now make sure you keep the presser foot against the edge of the brim, so you get a nice tight sew. Just like that, and now we have our sweatband sewn to the bottom of the hat, or the brim of the hat. And now we need to, it's dirty. So now we need to put the entire hat together. For this step, it's better if you use a post sewing machine or a cylindrical arm. However, not everybody has one of those. Not everybody has one of these. So we're gonna use this same machine to attach the actual crown to the brim. Using this, I do have a cylindrical arm, which will make it a lot easier, but I want to show you guys that you can do it with this one. So now we're gonna put both of them together like this, and we're gonna follow the same line that we have right here. We're gonna follow that same line, and we're gonna start right here where we actually cut the thread. We're gonna start about a half an inch, or about a quarter of an inch, not a half an inch, behind that. So I'm gonna put it there. And again, I told you I'm not gonna change the thread, because I want you guys to see it. So we're gonna squeeze it in just like so, because we wanna have a nice tight fit. If you have a post sewing machine, that machine is perfect for this. If you have a cylindrical arm, that's also good for this. Both of those machines. But if you don't, and you want to do something, you want to customize your hats like this, know that you can do it with a regular sewing machine. You just gotta make sure that you're following the right line. See, like right now I'm just trying to make sure that my brim is actually right next to the hat or the crown. I think I moved my hat right there. So you're gonna see a little crooked line right there. And right there you go. So that's what I was talking about. I moved it, so see how I went off. So for this last step, it is actually a lot easier if you have a cylindrical arm or a post bed sewing machine. There you have it. That's how you would change the actual brim. And if you want to go get more creative, you can do something like this. But that's that's for another video. This is it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so and ding the bell so you get notified when I upload new videos. Thank you for watching. It's a pleasure, like always. Thank you guys, and I will catch you on the next one. See you later. God bless you. Bye-bye now. Adios.